Ladies and gentlemen, the tragic Air India plane crash is not just a headline. It's a warning, a reminder, a revelation. Every crash in life comes with a message. You don't have to fly just because everyone else is. Crashes are moments that feel sudden, devastating, and uncontrollable. But if we pause, look deeper, and truly reflect, we begin to understand they are not random misfortunes. They are signals, messages, wrapped in pain, asking us to pay attention. Life has a way of speaking to us through chaos. A plane crash, for instance, is not just a mechanical failure or an unfortunate series of events. It's a symbolic disruption, a mirror held up to our pace, our assumptions, our blind faith in systems that may no longer serve us. When something crashes, whether in the sky or in our personal lives, it's never just about what went wrong in that moment. It's about what we ignored, rushed through, or failed to address along the way. We've all had our own kinds of crashes, relationships that collapsed without warning, careers that derailed unexpectedly, moments when we thought we were flying high only to be brought down hard. And in those moments, the pain can be blinding. But if we let ourselves sit with that pain, we begin to hear what it's trying to teach us. Crashes ask questions we didn't want to face. Were we paying attention? Were we prepared? Were we aligned with the truth? Or were we swept up in momentum that wasn't ours? Often we think of warning signs as obvious, flashing lights, but more often they're subtle. A gut feeling, a tightness in your chest, a sleepless night, a quiet voice inside that says, something's not right. And when we ignore these signs, life sometimes amplifies the message, and that's when the crash happens. It's not punishment. It's protection, cloaked in pain. It's the universe or life or whatever you believe in stepping in to say, if you won't slow down, I will stop you. There's wisdom hidden in every wreckage. A crash can reveal the cracks we didn't want to see, the truths we tried to cover up, the paths we needed to exit. It can be the point at which everything changes. Not because it had to happen that way, but because we finally started listening. The warning was always there. We just weren't ready to receive it. When life brings us to our knees, it's not just to break us. It's often to reposition us. So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? The real question becomes, what was life trying to tell me before this crash ever occurred? We often move through life without questioning our direction, our choices, or the systems that surround us. Just like a plane on autopilot, we follow set routes and routines without really paying attention to what's happening beneath the surface. We wake up, go to work, meet expectations, smile through discomfort, and convince ourselves that it's all just part of the journey. But the truth is, when you fly on autopilot for too long, you lose connection with your purpose. You forget what it feels like to be fully awake, fully alive, and fully responsible for the direction your life is taking. Living on autopilot is seductive. It feels safe, predictable, comfortable. You avoid turbulence because you're not making bold turns. You follow a straight path because that's what others are doing. You let your job, your social circle, your past decisions, or even your fears dictate your next move. But deep down, something starts to feel off. There's a quiet dissatisfaction, a numbness that creeps in, a sense that you're merely existing, not truly living. And the longer you stay in that mode, the harder it becomes to remember what you really want, who you really are, and where you were truly meant to go. Life is not meant to be automated. Your soul was not designed to be programmed. You were given a mind to think critically, a heart to feel deeply, and a voice to speak your truth. When you ignore those gifts and surrender to default settings, You risk crashing into regret. You miss out on the beauty of intentional living. You stop hearing the inner signals that warn you when something isn't right. That's when you start accepting things you shouldn't. A toxic relationship, a dead-end job, a version of yourself that doesn't match your potential. Every now and then, life shakes us, sometimes violently, to jolt us out of our trance. A failure, a loss, a wake-up call. These are not punishments. They're disruptions designed to get us off autopilot. Because when you're truly awake, you notice things, the small shifts, the misalignments, the red flags. You ask questions, you challenge the route, you take back the controls. You remember that you have the power to redirect your path at any moment. You don't have to wait for a crash to make a change. You just have to wake up, take the wheel, and choose to fly with intention, clarity, and courage every day. We are surrounded by crowds moving in a particular direction towards certain careers, lifestyles, beliefs, or definitions of success. And when you see so many people boarding the same plane, taking the same path, it becomes tempting to believe that it must be the right way. The pressure to conform is subtle but powerful. It's not always spoken, but it's felt. You don't want to be left behind. You don't want to look foolish for choosing differently. You think to yourself, if everyone else is going, maybe I should too. But that kind of thinking can lead you into places never meant for you. Life is not about mass movement. It's about aligned movement. What's right for others might be completely wrong for you. Their timing may not be your timing. Their purpose is not your purpose. Their journey has nothing to do with your destination. Just because they look confident as they board doesn't mean they've checked where the plane is actually going. Sometimes people are moving simply because they're afraid to be still. Sometimes they're running from something, not towards something. And sometimes they're following others just to avoid the discomfort of choosing their own path. You owe it to yourself to pause before you follow, to ask the hard questions. Is this truly where I want to go? Is this in line with what I believe in, with what matters to me, with who I'm becoming? Because once that plane takes off, turning around gets harder. Once you commit to a path that's not yours, you begin to slowly drift from your truth. You begin to feel the disconnection, the quiet dissatisfaction, the sense that something is missing, even though on the surface, everything seems right. There is great courage in choosing not to board, in standing at the gate and saying, this one isn't for me, in letting the crowd pass by while you stay grounded, waiting for the journey that aligns with your soul. It's not about being afraid to fly. It's about being wise enough to wait. There is strength in being still when the world is moving fast. There is wisdom in choosing authenticity over acceptance. Not every opportunity, relationship, job, trend, or lifestyle is meant for you, no matter how many people embrace it. Your life was never meant to be a copy of someone else's. It was meant to be a masterpiece of your own design. We live in a world that glorifies speed, faster cars, quicker results, instant communication, and rapid success. From the moment we wake up, we're told to move quickly, decide quickly, achieve quickly. The pressure is relentless. If you're not growing fast enough, earning fast enough, or climbing fast enough, you're made to feel like you're falling behind. But what this obsession with speed often ignores is that not everything fast is safe. In fact, the faster we go, the more likely we are to overlook the cracks in the path we're racing down. When we chase speed, we often sacrifice depth. We make decisions without proper thought. We jump into commitments without understanding the full picture. We rush into careers, relationships, deals, and responsibilities, all in the name of getting ahead. But forward movement without alignment is not progress. It's a crash waiting to happen. The truth is, most disasters don't come out of nowhere. The signs are there, but speed blinds us to them. We don't see the warning lights because we're too focused on acceleration. We don't hear our intuition because the engine of our ambition is too loud. Speed can create an illusion of progress. Just because something is moving doesn't mean it's moving in the right direction. A plane traveling at high speed still needs a skilled pilot, a clear destination, and constant checks. Without those, speed becomes danger. And the same is true in life. If we're not pausing to reflect, to ask the hard questions, to recalibrate, then we're not really living. We're just rushing toward burnout, breakdown, or regret. Sometimes, slowing down is the most courageous thing you can do. It's not laziness. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It takes strength to pause when everyone else is pushing forward. It takes discernment to say, this pace doesn't serve me, even when the world is telling you to keep running. When you slow down, you gain clarity. You begin to see what you missed. You start to hear your own voice. You reconnect with your values. You learn to move with intention rather than momentum. And that's where real safety lies, not in moving fast, but in moving right. The Air India plane crash reminds us that everything can appear smooth and under control and by the time we realize something is wrong, it can be too late. This doesn't mean we stop pursuing excellence or bold goals. It simply means we must be brave enough to stop and inspect the path, brave enough to say, I refuse to sacrifice safety, clarity, and purpose at the altar of speed. In life, opportunities often present themselves like flights waiting at the gate. They seem exciting, full of promise, moving fast toward a destination that everyone is talking about. The world will often tell you to jump on board quickly, to not miss your chance, to follow the crowd and go where others are going. But the truth is, not every flight is meant for you. Not every opportunity, path, relationship, or dream, no matter how shiny or successful it appears, is aligned with your soul's journey. And the danger lies not in missing a flight, but in boarding one that takes you far from who you really are. We're conditioned to believe that saying yes is always the brave thing, that movement means progress, that risk means reward. But what if the real courage lies in discernment? What if the greatest power you hold is the ability to say no? To recognize when something is not for you, no matter how attractive or accepted it is by others. It takes strength to stand at the gate, watch the doors close, and decide that your destination lies elsewhere. It takes wisdom to admit that you may be on someone else's journey. If you board too quickly, without pausing to ask if this direction truly serves your growth and peace. Sometimes, life puts a runway in front of you, not to make you take off, but to test your awareness. Just because an opportunity exists doesn't mean it's yours. Just because people are excited about something doesn't mean it aligns with your purpose. You have a unique blueprint, a specific design, and your journey will not look like anyone else's. The moment you forget that, you start losing yourself in the noise, chasing flights you never wanted to board in the first place. You start living a life that looks right from the outside, but feels empty on the inside. And that emptiness grows every mile you travel further from your truth. Real growth begins when you realize that alignment is more valuable than speed, peace more precious than popularity, and authenticity more important than applause. When you refuse to board a flight that isn't meant for you, you are not rejecting opportunity. You are honoring your inner compass. You are saying yes to patience, to clarity, and to the deeper kind of success that comes from walking in your own lane. The world may not understand your silence when everyone else is rushing to take off, but in that stillness, you are building the kind of life that doesn't need to crash to wake you up. We often search for miracles in the extraordinary, in moments that defy logic, in events that shift reality in sudden, dramatic ways. But the greatest miracles are rarely loud. They don't always arrive with flashes of light or supernatural signs. Sometimes the most powerful miracle is the moment you finally see, when your eyes open to a truth that was always there, but had been clouded by fear, distraction, or denial. Awakening is not just realizing something new. It is remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It is the quiet but life-altering decision to stop moving blindly and start living with presence and purpose. Crashes in life, whether emotional, spiritual, or physical, are painful. They are disruptive. They shatter routines and assumptions, but they also strip away the noise. They silence the distractions long enough for your soul to speak. That pain, as unbearable as it may feel, becomes a doorway. And once you walk through it with open eyes, everything changes. What once seemed normal now looks hollow. What once felt safe now feels confining. What once seemed urgent suddenly becomes irrelevant. And in that clarity, you don't just see the world differently, you see yourself differently. An awakening isn't something that happens just once. It is a continual process of becoming. Each time you choose to stop pretending, each time you face a hard truth, each time you lean into discomfort for the sake of growth, you awaken a little more. And every awakening brings with it a kind of rebirth, not of the body, but of the mind, the spirit, the identity. You begin to shed the layers that were never really you, the expectations, the roles, the beliefs handed down without question. And what remains is something raw, something real, something unshakable. What once felt like failure begins to feel like freedom. What once looked like loss begins to feel like release. You realize that the goal is not to avoid struggle, but to allow it to reveal what you were blind to before. In that way, the crash was not your undoing, it was your awakening. And the true miracle is not that you survived, but that you woke up. You began to see life not as something happening to you, but something that can be shaped by you. That shift in perception, that expansion of awareness, is the quiet miracle that changes everything.